In this video, I want to share with you my minimalist personal brand content strategy for 2026. I've been creating content through my personal brand since 2018. The system, the model that I use has undergone many evolutions, but none have been as big as the changes that I've made in particular over the last 12 months. And the very lean, very simple system that I've landed on for 2026 and beyond. I've seen a big change in the content creation, the personal branding landscape, particularly over the last 18 months. And I've got a thesis about where I think it is really all going. There's going to be a split. And I think the people that get ahead of this will do very, very well. And I don't just mean they'll do well in terms of views and all that kind of stuff. I don't really care about maximum vanity metrics, but I mean in terms of building real community, in terms of building brand depth, in terms of generating deal flow and clients and all these kind of things. So typically you want to generate as a result of actually putting out content. I've been creating personal brand content since 2018. Simple videos like this, posts on social media, little ads, little emails under the Caris brand have made me millions and millions of dollars. The frameworks that I've developed in order to create those videos, to create those posts, I've given to clients, and it has made them many, many more millions and millions of dollars. And the key thing is I've been able to generate this cash flow without having a very, very big audience. That is the power of understanding how to correctly create content that actually builds connection and community. You don't need to go viral. You don't need the most views. This is the lens that I'm looking at content and personal branding through. Over the last 12 months, I've pretty aggressively restructured my business. I've done other videos on this. I'll link to some of them below so that you can get the full context in case you haven't seen them. But the big change was that I decoupled my personal brand from my core education business. Up until back end of 2024, my entire personal brand was really tied to that business. That business is called Caris Digital, and it's where I help people implement the different systems and strategies that I've learned selling millions of dollars in information products online. The challenge with having my entire personal brand tied to it meant that I felt really pigeonholed and boxed into only being able to talk about those things. As my business has grown and developed and my skills have developed over the years, I've become curious and got involved in lots of different projects and done consulting and advisory and partnerships with different people. And I'm involved in different investments. And I wanted a platform to be able to talk about all of those different things. The challenge was when the entire brand was the business and the business was the brand, I didn't really feel like I had the space in order to do that. So what I did was I took that core business and I put it into a box. I put it into a silo, and now it runs with ads and email, and it's got its own YouTube channel, and it's got its own offers, and it's there, and it's very real, and it's always running, but it's very much behind the scenes. I did this because, one, I wanted to pick up a lot more leverage in that business. I wanted it to be less directly tied to my time and my energy, which I've achieved. But two, I wanted to create more space. I wanted to create more margin within the personal brand to be able to continue to take on different projects, to explore different consulting opportunities and partnerships and investments, and then be able to bring all of that back to these videos, to my emails, to the content that I do post now, to really share and document this journey and be able to do it from a place where I'm not creating content because I need to do it in order to sell, to create content because I want to film video, because I feel like sitting down and talking about a certain topic. And then the major lens that sits on top of all of that is building a time capsule for my kids, a time capsule of the moves that I'm making in real time, the things that I've succeeded at, the things that I've failed at, the things that I'm reading, the people that I'm learning from, how I'm processing and kind of synthesizing all of these lessons, and how I'm trying to do this whole business thing, investing thing, partnerships, advisory, manage all of this stuff, have a personal brand without compromising being a present dad, being there for all the really, really important moments. And so that's what the brand is now. It's the documentation of this journey, right? It's not boxed into a single niche. It's not about 3 tips to do this, 5 ways to do that, the latest and greatest thing. No, it's just me sharing my journey in real time with you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that is where my thesis begins about where I think personal branding is going. You see, as I was going through this process of really restructuring everything, I paid attention to what is the content that I consume. Okay, now the main content that I consume is books. I read. But I do consume a little bit of content online still. There's two in particular. There's a gent who creates YouTube videos. He's worth a few $100 million, and he just shares his kind of crazy life off the back of all of that money that he's made mostly investing. And then there's another gent who writes a written newsletter, kind of monthly, not really. I think he's a billionaire. The common thread between these two people is that they're simply sharing their life. There's not necessarily a set cadence. They're not posting every single day. They're not necessarily teaching. They're not trying to come up with content schedules or launch calendars or all this kind of stuff. They've got plenty of things going on. They're running their businesses. They're living their lives, and they're using content as an outlet in order to capture the ride, in order to document the journey, in order to share lessons because they want to share them. Okay. And that is my thesis. That is where I believe personal branding is going to head. Right now, the funny thing is, it's not really a new direction. It's more of a revision. It's come full circle. When personal branding first came onto the scene, and this is how I got my start. And I had a little Facebook group, and I was talking about what I was learning with affiliate marketing and starting a blog, which was my gateway drug into online business. This is where it began. This is what personal branding was all about. It wasn't about how many millions of clips can I put out in order to absolutely redline the algorithm, and I don't really care what it's all about. Personal branding and content has completely lost its way. And that was before AI even really came online and started to become mainstream, at least in the online kind of creator space. That's made it 10 times worse. And so my thesis, where I think things are going to head and go, is that the people who just focus on building what they really want to build and share that journey with the world, truly in its beauty, in its ugliness, in everything in between, who they are, what they're working on, why they're building, what they're learning, that true behind the scenes come along for the ride. I think that is where personal branding and content is really heading. At least that's the content that I know I love to consume and by extension love to create. Okay. And so that brings me to my minimalist personal brand content strategy for 2026 and beyond. It is simply going to be returning to doing that. Okay. Now, more practically, how am I going to do that? You could probably get a feel if you just go and look at what I'm doing, you'll figure it out pretty easily. But this right here is going to be the anchor. This is going to be the pillar content. And once a week, assuming there's something chunky enough that I really want to talk about, I will sit down wherever I may be in the world and film a video about something that I'm thinking about, working on, have done, have learned, have achieved, have failed at, whatever it may be that I want to put on the record. And it will be real-time stuff that I'm doing in the trenches. And then over time, as that catalog really builds out, I can reflect back on it and be like, hey, I was right. Or hey, I was wrong. Oh, hey, that went really well. Or hey, oh my God, that was an absolute shit show. This is what is going to be built off, is this core video here, which is why I've created this new YouTube channel. Okay. I'll also be taking this video and I'll be putting it onto a journal that I've been publishing over on Substack. I'll link that below. And that will also include some kind of supplementary notes. All right. That will be the once a week cadence. And I've got an email list for this new direction of the brand where I will send that out each week. I'll put that below. It's just called notes. Right? They're literally just my building notes from, building this whole kind of quiet empire concept that I've been talking about on this channel. So if you want to join that list, that will be linked below as well. The way I'm thinking about it is it's kind of like TV shows used to be, right? When there was a show that you watched, they'd put out an episode each week and you'd be really, really excited for 6 p.m. on Thursday when that new episode was going to drop and you got to watch it. And then you were a little bit sad when the half an hour-long episode finished because you had to wait until next week. We didn't get all 10 episodes at once and would sit there and binge and waste our lives in front of Netflix. So it's the TV show personal brand strategy, not TV show in terms of all the flashy edits and stuff, but the cadence, the flow of it. That one episode a week about what's happening right now. Now, the other thing that I'm going to layer on top of that is there'll be a deeper dive monthly update. That's probably not so much going to be a YouTube thing, but that will go out to the email list and on the journal. And that's just because I really like writing. There's going to be a longer form monthly update that just goes into, what did we cover in these videos? What else was going on behind the scenes that maybe, wasn't a big enough thing to make it into an entire video. And it will be sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly from the entire journey. And it will be a longer form monthly written update. Okay, that's my game plan as I sit here today. Can it change? Yes. May the cadence evolve? Yes. Might be there a few weeks where I don't upload? Yes. But that is the entire point. It is not about pressure, gun to your head. What video are you going to make today? I want to focus on building my education business, consulting with the clients that I advise, the partners that I'm working with, the revenue share partners, the marketing departments that we're involved in running, building my investment portfolio, reading, being a present dad, exploring the other things that, I love, going to as much live football as possible, traveling, having good conversations with good people, working on interesting projects, going and doing all that instead of feeling like I need to show up every single day in order to create. And then I'll bring back the lessons. I'll bring back the good stuff. I'll bring back the bad stuff. I'll bring back the interesting, the quirky, what I find interesting. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. And that's what this is all going to be about. Okay. If you felt like you're disconnecting from this whole content thing, if you feel like it's shallow and it's not what it used to be, maybe there's something in this. I'm not saying this is going to be 100% right for you, but maybe there's something there that's worth thinking about. I think it's coming full circle. I think documentation and sharing the ride in real time, warts and all, is where we're heading back towards. And I think those are the brands that maybe they won't get the most views in the world because it's not the most polished. It's not the most viral. It's not the most algorithm friendly stuff, but they're the ones that are going to build depth, community, loyal fans. They're going to be able to, host events and meetups all around the world. And they're going to have strong philosophies that underpin them and all of those good things that should be associated with building a personal brand. Okay. So go check all the other links out below to other videos. If you're new here and you want a bit more context, to the journal over on Substack, to the email list, if you want to get these updates whenever I drop them. But that's my minimalist personal brand content strategy for 2026. Hope there's something in there that you can go and use. Maybe I've been able to shed some light on something that maybe you've been feeling or thinking about, but couldn't quite